Hello everybody. We wanted to take a moment to talk to you today about surprises, which, as you may have experienced, every now and then you take your vehicle into a shop and then the shop calls and says there's something that's come up that we might want to deal with while the car or the truck is here. And depending on your relationship with the shop, you might think, well, I'm glad that that got found while it was in the shop and didn't cause me a problem while I was out on the road, or even just that for convenience sake, again, that at least it's in the shop when it got found and it can be addressed while it's there. Of course, the other possibility is that you're wondering, well, why did this not get caught before? Or are you trying to sell me something I don't need, or it's just not a pleasant surprise? Because needless to say, the more that's wrong, the more money you're looking at spending. We wanted to give you an idea how these things can come up. So for example, here we have a 2005 Honda Pilot with a bad cooling fan. So here is our old one, and the new one's sitting right over there. And you can see here where the fan's out. It used to be right in this area here. Here's the one on the other side. They pretty much cover the radiator when they're both installed. This radiator is leaking. It's only leaking a little bit. You can see here's some baked residue here from coolant that's leaked out and dried up. Here's some wet residue here, and this is a very slow leak. As you can see, it's not even wet on the bottom of the radiator, let alone anywhere else. It's just wet right here. It's not something that's visible with the fan assembly in place. Now, needless to say, if the leak bursts or gets worse, which it eventually would, it would become visible at some point in time. But here's our point to you. Again, that leak was not visible until the fan came out. Every now and then people will kind of wonder, well, if you were really looking out for me, you would have told me this was wrong before, and they forget that shops are in the business of fixing problems and running their business that way. It's in our interest to find what's wrong and tell you about it, no matter how long or short of a list that is. This customer paid to have their car inspected. I looked it over very thoroughly, did not see anything leaking at the radiator, and again, with the fan out of the way, it was clear the radiator was leaking a little bit. So I had to call the customer and tell them about it. Now, one thing I pointed out to them was you have to pull the fans to change the radiator anyway. It's cheaper for them if we extend what was just going to be a fan replacement into a radiator job, because the fan gets wrapped into that job. That's substantially cheaper for them than it is if I just kind of hush it up, put the fan in. The radiator's not leaking very much, so the car would roll out of here and it wouldn't overheat, and then I could tell them later, oh, by the way, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your radiator started leaking. And now, needless to say, something like that should never ever happen. People should always be treated well. They should be advised to make decisions that are in their financial interest and well-being. So I certainly wouldn't send this thing out of here knowing that it was leaking, knowing that we make more money if we do a fan now, and then pull that same fan out in a little while to do a radiator. Customer wouldn't know any better, but we would. And that's something that you want to pay attention for as you're talking to a shop. Sometimes there will be little clues or cues that even if the news isn't good, that they are actually looking out for you and not trying to take advantage of you. So again, even though the news is not great, there's some additional bad news there. I pointed out to the customer that you actually spend less money if we do these things together than if we do them separately. And none of that was to pressure them into doing it right now. It's leaking. It will get worse at some point in time, and it's our job to find what's wrong and fix it in a way that it stays fixed. And I hope that pointing out to them that doing it together is cheaper than us being in there twice, hopefully that helped them to see that we want to do the right thing for them and treat them well. My only other point again would be that if the shop says it's cheaper for you if you do these things together, please be careful about interpreting that as, oh, you're pressuring me to do this right now. I was clear with the customer. I said it's a small leak. It may hold up for another 6 months. It may hold on for another few years. But I have no way of predicting that. As a mechanic, I see that it's leaking and I know how to fix it, and I know it will get worse. And that's what I have to present and let the customer make the decision if they're willing to have it fixed or not. The point was never to pressure them into making an immediate decision. They said, yeah, go ahead and do it. But had they needed some time to think it over, that would be legitimate, and we would gladly wait for them to make a decision they feel good about. Whether you're local to us or you're across the country and thinking about how to have your car serviced, we are interested in engaging with you and helping you to sort through all of that.